questions to the very end of all the speakers, if that's okay. And if you need to see more, a fuller bio, please visit the brochures that were handed out earlier. There's more extensive bio on each speaker. Our next speaker on the subject of Iraq is, again, Ambassador Mokhtar Lamani.
Thank you, Omar, for the nice words. Thank you, Dr. Subhi, for inviting me here. I don't know, 20 minutes, where do I begin to talk about the Iraqi crisis? I'm going to go just through some generalities and will avoid to bore you with some details and reserving a maximum of time to your own question and to develop accordingly. But let me begin from the end. Recently, there's one mistake in my views, which is done by both American parties, Republican and Democrat. They are dealing with Iraq like if it is an internal problem to win the election. But what happened there in a very fragile area, destroying totally a country, nobody is talking about that, and this is very, very unfortunate, and we can see a lot of mistakes. One of them is the way they are talking now about the surge and some improvement in security. In my views, this is totally irrelevant and wrong, because if there's an improvement of security because we are succeeding a national reconciliation movement in Iraq, including all Iraqis, this is extraordinarily perfect, but it's not what's happening. What happened in reality, before sending the last 30,000 troops in February 2007, the sectarian and ethnic cleansing was finished in Baghdad. During 2006, we used to find at least between 200 to 250 bodies in the streets of Baghdad because there were extremist groups from the Sunni side, Al-Qaeda, and from the Shia side, Al-Mahdi army, that they were moving from a suburb to another suburb, pushing people to leave their homes. So by January, it was finished, the separation between the population. This is why one of the first priority for the American army was just to build high concretes of 8 meters surrounding every suburb with one single entrance. Of course, it will have an impact on security, on people taking cars with bombs or whatever. The second element was that in the Sunni area, in the west part of the country, people, they were so fed up with Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda got a huge opportunity in Iraq that it didn't used to exist before the war, but one of the most scaring things when I was there about Al-Qaeda, they got an opportunity to run villages, especially in Diyala, in Nainawa, not only to be as a terrorist movement, but to have a political impact in which you have to talk maybe to them in a few years. And by running some villages, people, they were suffering a lot, and it was very easy to have the tribes moving against Al-Qaeda. And that was one of the rare positive decision taken by the US administration to help these tribes to get rid of Al-Qaeda, and they succeeded, what the American army or the Iraqi army couldn't do. But we're facing some other problems because of the sectarian government in Baghdad that was totally against arming these tribes, but because in the eyes of the current prime minister, he doesn't care if they were fighting Al-Qaeda, but he cared much more that they were Sunni and they were arming 100,000 Sunni. The third element was much more about a kind of gift, which is a real message given by Iran to the US. Because I used to hear when I was there that the Americans did the war, but who won the war? Especially in 2006, that was Iran and Al-Qaeda at the time. Iran, through Al-Mahdi army, they decided to push them not to attack the Americans army for 6 months, and they were renewing till now. I think the Iranian message was just to receive a recognition of a role that they would like to have in the whole area, from the Turkish border till Hormuz in the south of the Arabian Peninsula. Saying that, I would like just to mention also that when I was appointed to go to Baghdad, that was my personal decision not to live in the green zone. I used to live in the red zone. I was holding a project of national reconciliation, so I had to talk to all Iraqis, and I wanted all Iraqis to have access to me being in the green zone, a lot of Iraqis could never and ever talk to me. So I passed the first 5 months just listening to the Iraqis. I divided the Iraqis in 4 major groups. The first group is politician, and it includes politicians that they believed in the political process, but also the politicians that they were strongly against any political process done under the occupation. So I used to meet everybody. In Baghdad, Najaf, Erbil, Damascus, Amman, Cairo, and some other parts. And I got the chance to meet everybody, whoever I asked to meet internally, from Sistani to Mokhtar Lamani to all the Shia forces, the Kurdish, the Sunni, the resistance in Damascus and in other capitals. And after 5 months listening to everybody, I was very, very, very sad. Very sad because I used to listen only from all these groups. That all of them, they were just reacting at what they would like to have from Iraq. Nobody was talking what they would like really to give to their country. They were very sectarian, especially the elites. I'm not talking about the Iraqi people themselves. It happened to me sometimes when I used to have, let me just give an example, a meeting with 3 ministers Iraqi from the same government, but from different groups. The same day, when I was coming back home, I had an impression like if I met 3 ministers from 3 different countries in 3 different continents. No, it's just impossible. Some of them, when I had a young girl Iraqi with me just to take notes, working for me, when they noticed that my accent in Arabic, as originally from Morocco, is totally different from the Iraqi accent, and then they realized that the secretary with me, her accent is Iraqi. The first question they used to ask, not the Kurdish, but the Arabs, Sunni or Kurdish, is she Sunni or Kurdish? They don't want to talk in front of the other side. This is the elites. So after these 5 months listening to all these groups, the situation was very, very, very bad. And it was leading not only to sectarianism, but much more. Every Iraqi group is trying to immunize themselves by having alliances abroad against other Iraqis. The situation was very, very bad. What was done, I was totally scared, especially about what, from the beginning, Ambassador Bremer did with the constitution, with the kind of election. Unfortunately, the Iraqi, what I noticed, that they were not ready for election yet. The decision and the date of election was decided here in Washington. And because there was no weapon of mass destruction, now Al-Qaeda is there, all what was done as reason to go to war was not there, so there was a new element. We are spreading democracy. Unfortunately, what kind of democracy? It was harming democracy. The result is very clear. We have a very sectarian and very extremist Shia as a prime minister. We have a very extremist Sunni as Speaker of the Parliament, and the real democratic forces are outside. They don't have a chance. More than that, they have a constitution. I don't know how the occupation did. At home, you have a wonderful constitution here based on citizenship. But the constitution that was imposed in Iraq is based on sectarianism. And it's creating a bizarre situation. A bizarre situation because when I see some figures, like 30% of the Iraqi people, at least, were forced to leave their homes. Half of them outside, especially in Jordan and Syria. The other half are within Iraq. Some that are not even counted by UNHCR because they were just exchanging houses. If they are friends. This is Sunni in an area which is Shia, so he gave his home to another Sunni to come and he go to the other area according because there was mass killing on your presentation of your ID. But what a lot of people they don't know about some realities. Everybody was listening about the Shia, the Sunni, and the Kurds. These major 3 groups, they have militia to defend them. Between them, we have more than 14 minorities, ethnic or religious minorities. You are talking about Mesopotamia. All the groups that we studied in history that are still there. A lot of people, they don't know that we still have Mandaean, the follower of John the Baptist are still there. You have the Yazidis, you have the Shia, you have so many groups. So these groups, they were totally lost in a very bizarre